Welcome to another story of sweet, sweet karma. If you believe the truth always comes out, give us a like right now and subscribe to the channel. Let's start. The shocking hook. The beige life. The man you loved, the one who built a life with you, ditches you for a flashier, newer model. He calls your life small. His new wife calls you poor. She laughs at your plain clothes and quiet job, wallpapering her luxurious new life all over social media for you to see. She doesn't know the designer handbag on her arm is a cheap replica, and she doesn't know the little coffee shop you run is a hobby. She has no idea that you, the poor ex-wife, are the one who signs the paychecks for the people she is desperately trying to impress, and that your family name, Blackwood, can end her entire world with one simple phone call. Chapter 1. The scent of the lie. Amelia Sterling's life was measured in the aroma of roasted coffee beans and the soft rustle of old book spines. Her cafe, the Page and Bean, was her sanctuary. It was a small, brick-walled haven on a quiet Seattle side street, smelling of lavender, vanilla, and paper. It wasn't a successful business by the world's standards. It didn't franchise. It didn't do aggressive marketing. It didn't even have a TikTok presence. It simply was. And for Amelia, it was enough. It was real. This quiet, unpretentious life was the one Gregory had walked away from. Gregory, her husband of 5 years, the man she'd met in a library, who quoted poetry and promised a life of shared dreams. That life had soured. Gregory was ambitious, and Amelia was content. His ambition began to view her contentment as a burden, an anchor. He wanted the corner office, the German car, the glass-walled penthouse. Amelia just wanted a good book, a kind conversation, and a perfect espresso. "You are not ambitious, Amelia," he had told her. The words floated in the air of their small rented apartment, already half empty of his belongings. "You are static. I am moving forward. I need someone who moves forward with me." And he had moved forward. He left with Tiffany Hayes. Tiffany was not static. Tiffany was a whirlwind of spray tans, acrylic nails, and loud theatrical laughter. She was a lifestyle influencer, which seemed to mean she photographed herself with products she got for free, or, more often, products she bought and returned. She was everything Amelia was not: loud, demanding, and obsessed with the appearance of wealth. Chapter 2. The Invasion. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, the bell above the cafe's oak door tinkled. Amelia looked up as she polished the espresso machine, a soft smile ready for a customer. The smile froze. It was Gregory. He looked different. His suit was shinier, his hair slicked with too much product. He looked thinner and a decade older, and clinging to his arm was Tiffany. Tiffany was a sensory assault. Her perfume, strong and cloyingly sweet, preceded her. She wore a tight dress with a gaudy gold logo pattern, sunglasses on her head, despite the overcast day, and a large, bright red handbag that screamed its brand name in across the room. "Oh," Gregory said, his voice tight. He clearly hadn't intended to come here. Tiffany, however, scanned the cozy little shop with a look of dismissive curiosity. "This is it? This is where you used to hang out?" Her voice was a sharp pitch. She tugged Gregory toward the counter, having not yet registered Amelia, who was partly obscured by the gleaming machine. "Gregory, darling, this place is dead," Tiffany whispered loud enough for the 3 other customers to hear. "It's so quaint, and a little dusty." "Tiffany, shut up," Gregory hissed, his face reddening as he saw Amelia step into the light. "Amelia," he managed to say, his voice cracking. Tiffany's perfectly drawn eyebrows arched. Her eyes, large and assessing, raked Amelia up and down. Amelia was wearing her usual uniform, comfortable jeans, a soft cashmere sweater in a modest beige, and her hair in a simple, elegant knot. To Tiffany, she looked like a librarian or a nanny. "Wait." Tiffany's painted red mouth formed a perfect O. "It is her. It's Amelia." She burst into a harsh peal of laughter. "Oh, honey. Greg, you never told me." "Told you what?" Gregory asked, looking like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. "That she was—" Tiffany waved a hand, jingling a dozen gold-plated bangles. "The employee?" "I'm the owner, actually," Amelia said. Her voice, quiet but clear, cut through Tiffany's perfume. "Welcome to the Page and Bean. What can I get for you?" Tiffany's smirk turned into a sneer. She had just realized the power dynamic she was walking into. She was the new, improved wife. This was the discarded former model. This was her stage. "Oh, sweetie," Tiffany cooed, leaning on the counter. "You own this little spot? Good for you, keeping busy. It's just so important to have a hobby." She glanced at Gregory, squeezing his arm. "My Greg is so busy. He doesn't have time for hobbies. It's all about his career. He just got a massive promotion at the firm. We're celebrating." She patted her red bag. "A little gift from me, to me." Amelia knew for a fact Gregory hadn't gotten a promotion. She knew because her family, well, her family's firm, owned the company Gregory worked for. He was a mid-level analyst, and his quarterly review, which had crossed a desk she was familiar with, had not been massive promotion material. It had been adequate. "That's lovely, Tiffany," Amelia said, wiping the counter. "Congratulations, Gregory." Gregory just nodded, his eyes fixed on the pastry case. "I'll take a—" Tiffany scanned the simple, elegant menu. "Don't you have anything fun, like a whipped cream, sprinkles on top frappe?" "I have a cold brew, single origin from Guatemala," Amelia offered. "Or a cappuccino." Tiffany wrinkled her nose. "Gross. Never mind. I'll take a large iced latte, skim milk, and 4 pumps of vanilla. And make sure it's really sweet." She slapped her credit card on the counter. "And I guess order something for the— what's her name?" The question was directed at Amelia, but she was pointing at her sole employee, Maria, who was reading in the corner, trying to be invisible. "I'm fine, thank you," Maria said without looking up. "Whatever." Tiffany then turned to Gregory. "Honey, go find us a table." "No, not that one," she said, pointing to a cozy armchair. "It looks like someone's grandma died in it." Gregory, his face masked by painful obedience, went to a small, hard table by the window. Amelia made the drink. She made it perfectly, just as she made all her drinks. She handed the cloyingly sweet, vanilla-scented concoction to Tiffany. "That will be $6.20, Amelia said. Tiffany chuckled. $6.20 for this? God, no wonder you're— You know. She tapped her card. The payment approved instantly. She took a sip and made a face. "It's fine." She sashayed toward Gregory, but before sitting down, she turned back to Amelia. "Hey, it was nice meeting you finally. I see why Greg wanted something more. It's not your fault. Some people are just small town, and some of us are built for the big city." She winked, then immediately sat down, pulling out her phone to take a selfie, tagging the location with a snide comment. "My man's ex is just adorable, blessed with a quaint little life." Moving on up. Amelia watched them. Gregory wouldn't meet her eyes. Tiffany was talking animatedly, showing him her phone, oblivious to the fact that she was sitting in a coffee shop owned by a Blackwood. Amelia was not just a barista. She was Amelia Blackwood, the sole heiress to the vast Blackwood Consolidated Empire, a logistics and real estate conglomerate valued at more than the GDP of a small country. And she, in her simple jeans and cashmere sweater, had just been called poor by a woman drinking a $6 latte she couldn't actually afford. Amelia went back to her espresso machine and began polishing. The rhythmic hiss of the rag was the only sound of her rising rage. The game had just begun. Reader pause. Should Amelia continue pretending she's just the barista, or should she immediately unleash the power of her surname? Let us know your opinion in the comments. Chapter 3. The escalation. Tiffany, it turned out, was not content with a small victory. She had tasted blood and found a new favorite hobby: tormenting the poor ex-wife. It became a pattern. Every few days, Tiffany showed up. The next time she brought friends, 2 women who looked exactly like her. The same hair extensions, the same logo-covered bags, the same air of desperate, fragile superiority. "Girls, this is the place I told you about," Tiffany announced, her voice echoing in the quiet cafe. "This is my man's ex-wife's little project. Isn't it cute?" The friends, whose names Amelia would discover were Lexi and Jen, giggled and looked around as if they were in a zoo. "OMG, Tiffany, it's tiny," Lexi said, picking up a first-edition copy of 100 Years of Solitude from a shelf and immediately dropping it. "Wow, it's so old, it's so poor," Jen whispered loudly to Tiffany, unaware her voice carried. Amelia, who had paid over to text $215,000 for that first edition at a Sotheby's auction, winced as she picked it up, checking the spine. "Please be careful with the books. They are for sale, but also for reading." "Who reads paper anymore?" Tiffany scoffed. "Anyway, we're heading to the new VIP lounge at the Diagonal Club. Gregory's membership just got approved. We need, I guess, 4 coffees, the cheapest you have. We'll probably throw them out anyway." Amelia gritted her teeth. The Diagonal Club. Her father, Robert Blackwood, sat on the board of directors. Gregory was not a member. He was a guest with a 3-use pass that one of his superiors, Mr. Harrison, had given him, probably out of pity. 4 black coffees, Amelia said, her voice clipped. $12. While they waited, Tiffany draped herself dramatically against the counter, taking selfies. Just trying to help a small business. Charitable buy. So thankful. Amelia's employee, Maria, emerged from the back room, her face furious. "Amelia, you don't have to serve them." "It's fine, Maria," Amelia murmured. "They're paying customers." "They're monsters," Maria retorted, loud enough for Tiffany to hear. Tiffany spun around. "What did you say, runt?" Maria, an Italian-American 4th-year law student, stepped forward. "I said, you're a monster, and that handbag is a cheap knockoff. The G on the logo is too round." Tiffany's face went from smug to white to furious red in a fraction of a second. The red bag she was so proud of. "How dare you! This is real. Gregory bought it for me." "Then he was scammed," Maria said, crossing her arms. "Just like Amelia." "Maria," Amelia said sharply. "That's enough." Tiffany grabbed her coffees, threw a text $20 bill on the counter, and stormed out. "Keep the change, you pathetic losers. You'll never see us at the Diagonal." The door slammed shut. Amelia and Maria stood in silence. "You shouldn't have done that," Amelia said, her hands trembling. "Why? Because you're too kind?" Maria demanded. "Amelia, she is walking all over you. Why do you allow it? Why are you living like this? This shop is a joke to you. I've seen your car, the unassuming EV. That is a poor text. Tis $200,000 prototype, not even on the market yet. The plain sweater? That's Loro Piana. That's 3 months of my rent. Why are you pretending to be this? Amelia sank heavily onto a stool. It's complicated, Maria. It is not, Maria insisted. You are rich. He is an idiot. And his new girlfriend is a... Tell them. Destroy them. That's not me, Amelia said in a small voice. And I can't be. Not yet. Chapter 4. The beige snapped. The attacks did not cease. They moved online. Tiffany, enraged by the fake bag comment, launched a digital onslaught. She posted videos for her $2,000 followers. Hey guys, just had the weirdest experience. Went to support a local business run by my man's ex, and her staff? So hostile. Just goes to show you. Being poor makes you bitter and mean. Bitter Amelia. Moving on up. Then she posted a screenshot of Gregory's adequate performance review, which he had foolishly left open on his laptop. She had blurred the numbers, but not the title. Senior analyst. So proud of my man. Succeeding while others are, well, serving coffee. Boss life. Power couple. Winning. But the final, most brutal attack came not at the cafe, but at the place Amelia was most vulnerable, the local farmers' market. Amelia was there, as she was every Sunday, picking fresh greens, her face bright and relaxed. This was her one truly normal pleasure. She was smelling a sprig of rosemary when that voice cut through the crowd. Well, 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 look who it is. Tiffany was there, phone recording, still counting pennies. Amelia, buying vegetables. God, it's so earthy. Amelia tried to walk away. Tiffany, please, I'm just shopping. Me too, Tiffany said, holding a single plastic-wrapped truffle. Gregory and I are making truffle risotto tonight. He's at the butcher getting dry-aged tomahawk. We're flying to Aspen for a long weekend, you know? He finally gets to live the life he deserves, the life I give him. She leaned in, dropping her voice, but keeping the phone camera rolling. You were holding him back, you know that, with your small life, your small shop, your small dreams. He told me. He said being married to you was like living in a grayscale movie. Said he needed color. He needed life. She gestured to her own neon yellow outfit. I am that color, Amelia. And you? You're just beige. She turned to the camera. She turned to the, it's just so sad, guys. Always follow your dreams. Don't let a beige person stop you. Live in full color. Aspen bound. Upgraded life. She sashayed away, laughing. Amelia stood there holding the bunch of rosemary. Her hand trembled. She wasn't just angry anymore. She was done. The deal she had made with her father, the one that had kept her in this quiet, simple life, had a clause. It was a 5-year term designed to see if her marriage to a commoner would last, but it also had an exit clause. The agreement was null and void upon a legal divorce. The divorce was 6 months ago. For 6 months, Amelia had chosen to remain Amelia the barista, clinging to the last vestiges of the life she had tried to build. She had been reluctant to return to her family's world, the world of the Black Woods. But Tiffany, with her cheap insults and tacky fake handbag, had just made the decision for her. Beige, Amelia whispered to herself, a cold, hard smile touching her lips. All right, Tiffany, right. Let's see how you like full color. She pulled out her phone. She didn't call her father. She didn't call her lawyer. She scrolled to a name she hadn't contacted in nearly a year. She typed a simple text. Andre, I need a dress. Something for the Blackwood Foundation Gala. And make it red. Chapter 5. The Glass House Shatters. While Tiffany was busy projecting an empire, Gregory was living in its ruins. The life Tiffany called color was actually a suffocating, searing shade of red ink. Gregory was drowning. Tiffany's little gift to herself, the red handbag, which he had thought was real, had been charged to a credit card, already screaming in agony. The massive promotion was a lie she had invented, one he was now terrified his bosses would hear. He had received a 2% cost of living raise and an HR email about his adequate performance. He wasn't rising. He was stagnant. He had left Amelia because her contentment felt like a judgment on his ambition. But now, he was beginning to realize her contentment hadn't been apathy. It had been peace. A peace he hadn't felt since he signed the lease on an overpriced new condo with Tiffany. Hey, Greg. Gregory jumped. His colleague, Benito, was leaning over the cubicle wall. Benito was a quiet, no-nonsense numbers guy, one of the few people in the office Gregory actually respected. Hey, Benito, what's up? Benito gestured to Gregory's screen, where a credit card statement was mostly obscured. You okay, man? You look like you saw a ghost. Yeah, fine, Gregory mumbled, quickly closing the window. Just, quarter-end stress. Benito didn't look convinced. Listen, I saw your wife's posts about the promotion. Gregory's blood froze. Oh, that. She just gets excited. You know how she is. No, I don't, Benito said, lowering his voice. And I don't think Mr. Harrison does either. He doesn't like hype, especially when the numbers don't back it up. You know this is a Blackwood-owned firm, right? It's all about subtlety, understated performance. She's not being very subtle. She's just proud, Gregory said weakly. It's a liability, Benito said flatly. And that Aspen trip? Are you onboarding new clients? Gregory's stomach churned. The Aspen trip was 2 nights at a budget ski lodge, paid for on a card now at 110% of its limit. It's a networking opportunity. Benito sighed. Look, Greg, we've been in the trenches a while. I'm telling you as a friend. You're spending like a VP, but you're still an analyst. This doesn't end well. This company, the people at the top, they see everything. They see the debt. They see the showboating. It's not the path to the corner office. It's the path to the exit door. Benito walked away, leaving Gregory in the sterile, fluorescent silence. He was a fraud, and he was terrified. Chapter 6. The Unraveling. That night, terror turned to resentment. He walked into the condo. Tiffany was on the sofa, wrapped in a white robe, with a green face mask on, filming herself. And then I told her, she was saying to her phone, that she was beige. And guys, she just stood there. It was so sad. But you gotta cut the toxic, poor-minded people out of your... Tiffany, turn that off! Tiffany jumped. Her phone wobbled. Greg, honey, you're home already. Did you get the steak? Did you see my post? It got like 200 likes. I saw it, Gregory said. His voice was flat. He threw his keys on the counter. You have to take it down. Tiffany's mask wrinkled as she frowned. What? Why? It's true. It's not true. It's not true, Tiffany. Gregory snapped, his voice finally rising. There is no promotion. There is no succeeding. I'm drowning. This condo, your bags, the non-stop parties, we can't afford any of it. Tiffany stood up, pulling her phone from its tripod. What are you talking about? Afford. You're a senior analyst at one of the biggest firms in the city. You're Gregory. And what does that mean? He shouted. It means I make text $45,000 a year. That's what it means. It doesn't mean Aspen. It doesn't mean the Diagonal Club. And it certainly doesn't mean whatever that is." He pointed to a tacky, huge golden panther statue in the corner. "That," Tiffany said, her voice dripping venom, "is art. It's an investment." "It's plastic," Gregory roared. "I saw the receipt. You are spending money we don't have. You are posting about a life that is a lie." "It's not a lie," Tiffany shrieked. "It's fake it till you make it. It's manifesting. That's something your poor, pathetic, beige ex-wife would never understand. She was happy being nothing. I'm trying to make you something." "She was happy," Gregory said, the words catching in his throat. "We were happy. We had savings. We had peace. I came home and the house was quiet. She was reading. It smelled like dinner, not chemicals and desperation." Tiffany's face went rigid. The green mask was cracking. "Oh." Her voice dropped to a dangerous level. "I see. You miss her." "No," Gregory said too quickly. I just miss not feeling like I'm going to have a heart attack every time I check the mail. You miss being comfortable. You miss being poor with her." Tiffany advanced on him, jabbing a finger into his chest. "You are weak, Gregory. You were weak with her, and you are weak now. But you are my husband, and you will not humiliate me. You will not tell me what I can or cannot buy, or what I can or cannot post. We are going to the top, and if you're not strong enough to climb, I will drag you." She stopped. Then a cruel, cunning smile spread across her face. "In fact, I know exactly what to do. We need to be seen. We need to show we belong." She pulled up an email on her phone. "The Blackwood Foundation Gala. It's the event of the year. All the VPs, all the CEOs, everyone will be there." Gregory's stomach turned to ice. "Tiffany, we can't. The tickets are like text or $10 to table. $1,000 it. Not our table," Tiffany said, her eyes glittering. "I've been networking. I befriended Mr. Harrison's assistant and mentioned how passionate you are about the foundation's work. She got us 2 tickets. We just have to make a donation." $1,000, Gregory choked. "We'll have it," Tiffany said, snatching her credit card off the counter. "This is it, Greg. This is our chance. This is where we make it. We go, we are seen. We talk to Mr. Harrison. We talk to his bosses. We show them we're not just adequate. We're exceptional." Gregory watched, paralyzed, as she typed the numbers into the donation page. The charge went through. "Now," she said, peeling off the dry mask. "I need a dress. A real one. Something that shows them I'm the new Mrs. Sterling." Gregory sank onto the plastic-wrapped sofa, his head in his hands. He felt a migraine coming on. He was in a glass house, and the cracks were spreading too fast to count, and he could hear, faintly yet clearly, the sound of a large stone hurtling toward them. Chapter 7: The Scarlet Coronation. The Blackwood Foundation. Annual Gala was the undisputed crown jewel of the city's social calendar. It wasn't a party, it was a demonstration of power, a gathering of the old money titans and the new money disruptors who had been deemed worthy. The press was kept at a respectful distance, security was presidential, and the donation for entry was simply the first barrier to entry. Tiffany vibrated with manic energy. She had spent 2 weeks preparing. She had rented a dress, a monstrosity of gaudy red sequins that was 2 sizes too small and featured a slit that went dangerously high. She had tortured her hair into an elaborate updo, and her makeup was layered for a stage, not a ballroom. "How do I look?" she demanded, posing in the hall mirror of their condo. "It's a lot," Gregory said, tugging at the collar of his rented tuxedo. It smelled faintly of dry cleaning chemicals, and another man's sweat. "It's fabulous," Tiffany corrected. "It says, 'I have arrived.' Now remember the plan. We find Mr. Harrison. We are charming. We are ambitious. We mentioned the new Aspen account. I told them we landed it. And we don't leave until we've been photographed with at least one person from the Vanguard." "Tiffany, the Vanguard doesn't," Gregory began, but gave up. He was exhausted. The text, $1,000 donation, had been followed by text, $500 for the dress rental, text, $300 for her hair and makeup, text, $200 for his tuxedo, and text, $150 for the car service, because Tiffany refused to take a cab. They were over text $2,000 in the hole for one single night on one single credit card. Benito's warning echoed in his head. They see everything. They arrived at the Grand Museum, a flood of cameras flashing in the designated press area. Tiffany, seeing them, immediately grabbed Gregory's arm and tried to pose. Ma'am, this is the main entrance. Please keep moving," a security guard said gently but firmly, ushering her away from the velvet rope. "Rude," Tiffany muttered, her face souring. They entered the ballroom. It was breathtaking, a sea of quiet, powerful elegance. Women in timeless gowns of velvet and silk, men in perfectly tailored tuxedos. The jewels were real, but they were understated. A single perfect strand of pearls, a set of antique diamond studs. Tiffany, in her bright red sequin tube, stood out like a fire alarm. People politely looked away. The air was thick with the scent of old money and new orchids. And everyone, absolutely everyone, was more important than they were. "There he is," Tiffany hissed, digging her nails into Gregory's arm. "Mr. Harrison!" Mr. Harrison was standing near the main stage, laughing with a group of older men. He was the picture of discreet power. He saw Gregory and Tiffany approach, and his smile tightened. "Gregory, madam," he said, nodding. "Harrison, what a pleasure to see you," Tiffany gushed, stepping in front of Gregory. "We are thrilled to be here. The work the Foundation does is so important." "It is," Harrison said, his eyes scrutinizing her dress with a look of mild disbelief. "I'm glad you donated." "Oh, of course. We expect to make a much larger donation next year," Tiffany said with a sharp laugh. "Once Gregory's new Aspen account starts paying off." Harrison looked at Gregory. His voice was deathly quiet. "Is that so, Gregory? Because my reports show your client acquisition is flat or negative this quarter. Are you lying at an event for a foundation built on integrity?" "No," Gregory stammered. "It's not. It's a misunderstanding. She's just excited." "I see." Harrison's disapproval was a physical force. "If you'll excuse me, I see a real donor I need to speak to." He turned his back on them, leaving them stranded in the center of the room. Gregory felt the blood drain from his face. She had just detonated his entire career in 1 second. He's just playing hard to get," Tiffany whispered. Her confidence was finally cracking. "He's old school. He'll come around." "He won't," Gregory said in a hollow voice. "Tiffany, you just, Tiffany," he hissed. The lights in the ballroom were dimming. The master of ceremonies, a famous news anchor, approached the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your incredible generosity tonight," the anchor began. "We are all here to support the Blackwood Foundation, and this year we are especially honored. The foundation has been steered for decades by its patriarch, Mr. Robert Blackwood." A spotlight hit an older, imposing man at a head table. He had a face like a Roman coin, powerful and severe. He nodded. Gregory recognized him. His blood didn't just freeze, it turned to ice. He had seen that face once, and only once, 5 years ago, in the front row of his own wedding. He had been introduced as Amelia's Uncle Robert, a quiet, intimidating man who had watched the entire ceremony with a look of deep skepticism. He had shaken Gregory's hand, his grip like steel, and told him, "Take care of her. She's more than you think." He hadn't been an uncle. He was Robert Blackwood. Gregory stopped breathing. The MC continued. "Mr. Blackwood has been overseeing a transition for the past year. A new hand at the helm, a new vision. She has been quietly working, rebuilding Blackwood Consolidated's international logistics arm from the ground up, after something of a sabbatical." A murmur went through the crowd. This was new. The Blackwood heir was a notorious recluse. No one had seen her in years. "Tiffany," Gregory whispered, grabbing her arm. "We have to leave now." "What? Shut up! They're announcing someone!" Tiffany snapped. "It is my distinguished honor," the MC said, his voice booming, "to introduce the new chairwoman of the Blackwood Foundation and the new CEO of Blackwood Consolidated. Please welcome Ms. Amelia Blackwood." The name hit Gregory like a physical blow. It's not a different Amelia. It's a common name. It can't be. A single spotlight hit the side of the stage. A woman walked out. She was not wearing a simple sweater. She was wearing a bespoke, floor-length scarlet gown, deep and rich. Her hair was down, styled in elegant, cascading waves. Around her neck was a single, dazzling diamond and ruby necklace that looked like it belonged in a museum. She was serene. She was powerful. She was radiant. She was, without a doubt, Amelia. The poor, beige barista Berta stood beside him, still not processing. She was squinting at the stage. "Wow, she's gorgeous," Tiffany said, a tone of jealousy in her voice. "What a name, Amelia Blackwood. That's so weird, right? Like, you're Amelia, but, you know, rich and important." Gregory couldn't speak. He was paralyzed, watching the ghost of his past life ascend the stage, reborn as the most powerful woman in the room. Amelia approached the podium, and the entire ballroom of 1,000 people fell into a deafening silence. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was the same, quiet, serene, but it commanded the room. She didn't need to shout. "My father," she began, smiling at Robert Blackwood, "always taught me that wealth is not about what you have, but what you do with it." Gregory's knees trembled. He grabbed the back of a chair to steady himself. "My God," he whispered. Tiffany finally looked at him, at his white face, his shaking hands, and then looked at the woman on the stage. She really looked at her. The face, the eyes, the quiet, unshakable composure. "Greg," Tiffany's voice was a tiny, frightened squeak. "Greg, who is that?" Gregory could only say the impossible. "That, Tiffany, that is Amelia." Tiffany's mind simply refused to accept the data. "No," she said with a short, sharp, hysterical laugh. "That's not... It's a joke. It's a look-alike. You're crazy. That's not her. Oh, Amelia is poor." But Gregory was transfixed. He was watching the woman on the stage, and all the quirks he once found endearing and then frustrating suddenly clicked into place. Her meticulousness with quality wasn't meticulousness. It was the standard of someone accustomed to the best. Her simple sweaters were Loro Piana and Brunello Cucinelli. Her old car, a prototype. Her coffee shop hobby, not a business, a distraction. He had married the sun and complained it wasn't a light bulb. Amelia's speech was brilliant. She didn't just give platitudes. She was Brilliant. She spoke about new supply chain solutions for delivering medical aid, about sustainable urban real estate development for a circular economy. She was an expert. She wasn't just a figurehead. She was the boss. She owned the stage with a fluency he had never, ever seen. When she finished, the room that had been holding its breath erupted. A standing ovation, not a polite one, but a thundering one. Mr. Harrison was on his feet, clapping so hard his hands were red. Robert Blackwood was beaming, wiping a tear. Amelia smiled, nodded, and stepped down from the stage, walking straight into the arms of her father, who hugged her tightly. And then she began to work the room. This was the moment Tiffany, in her delusional state, had been waiting for. The networking part of the evening. "This is it," Tiffany whispered, her voice trembling, but somehow still arrogant. "This is our chance. We go up. We say, 'Hello, this imposter.' We'll see what she says. This is some kind of weird rich people joke." "Tiffany, no," Gregory hissed, grabbing her arm. "We are leaving now. No!" Tiffany wrenched her arm free. "You're scared. I am going to find out what is going on." She began marching with a desperate, self-righteous stride toward the knot of people now surrounding Amelia. Gregory, caught in a tidal wave of shame and horror, had no choice but to stumble after her. Amelia was in a tight circle with her father, Robert, and the man Tiffany had so spectacularly insulted, Mr. Harrison. "And the Q4 projections for the Singapore hub are impressive, Amelia. Truly," Harrison was saying. "It was a team effort, Mateo," Amelia replied. Mateo, Gregory thought. She called Harrison. "Mateo." "Excuse me." The circle turned. Tiffany had elbowed her way to the front, dragging Gregory with her. Tiffany stood there in her tight, rented sequin dress, facing the CEO in scarlet. It was like a barking terrier challenging a lioness. "Amelia," Tiffany said, her voice a sharp caricature of friendliness. "Sweetie, I didn't know you had a twin. Oh, is this like a new look for the coffee shop, a promotion?" The circle fell into utter silence. Robert Blackwood's smile vanished. Mr. Harrison's jaw dropped. Amelia looked at her. No anger, no surprise, just a deep, unfathomable, profound pity. "Tiffany." "Gregory," Amelia said, her voice as calm as when she offered a cappuccino. "I see you made it to your seats." Gregory was going to throw up. He could feel the eyes of his ultimate boss, Mr. Harrison, boring into the side of his skull. Robert Blackwood, the patriarch, stepped forward. He was a foot taller than Tiffany and radiated an aura of absolute terrifying power. He looked Tiffany up and down. His gaze paused at the strained sequin seams. "Amelia," Robert said. His voice was a grave murmur. "Who are these people?" This was the moment Tiffany had been waiting for. She puffed out her chest. "I'm Tiffany," she announced. "Gregory's wife. His new wife. And he," she jabbed a long acrylic-nailed finger at Gregory, "is her ex-husband." The silence stretched. Then Mr. Harrison, Mateo, did the last thing Gregory expected. He burst out laughing. It wasn't a small chuckle. It was a full-throated, back-slapping guffaw, complete with tears in his eyes. "Oh, son," Harrison choked out, pointing at Gregory. "Oh, Gregory, you magnificent fool. You. He couldn't even finish. Gregory was no longer a man. He was a joke. Tiffany's face crumpled in confusion. "What? What is so funny?" "You are, sweetheart," Harrison said, wiping an eye. "You are." Amelia raised her hand. The laughter stopped. "Father, Mateo," her voice was clear and strong. This is, as he said, Gregory and his wife, Tiffany. Father, Tiffany whispered, her fake tan suddenly looking green. Robert Blackwood looked at Gregory, not with anger, but with academic curiosity, like a scientist studying a particularly disappointing specimen. So, this, Robert said, his voice quiet, is what you left my daughter for. This loud, desperate caricature. Gregory tried to speak. No sound came out. But she's poor, Tiffany finally shrieked. The last retaining wall of her delusion crumbled. The shop, the beige. She's a barista. She said he was holding her back. He was holding back something, Harrison murmured. Amelia finally sighed. She stepped forward. The diamonds on her neck flashed, and the entire chaotic, painful truth spilled out. I was never poor, Tiffany, Amelia said, and the entire gala, it seemed, had quieted to hear this strange, central drama. When I chose to marry Gregory, Amelia continued, her eyes locking onto his, I wanted to be sure. I wanted a real life, not a Blackwood life. I wanted to be loved just for me. She turned to her father. My father disapproved of the marriage. He disapproved of Gregory. Robert Blackwood grunted. The man was a mid-level analyst with weak projections. I knew he didn't have the stomach for it. Father, Amelia chided softly, we struck a deal, a test of sorts. I would live as Amelia. Amelia Sterling, without the family name, without the investment portfolio, for 5 years. I would build a life on my own with my husband, to prove our love was real and not a transaction. Gregory remembered the prenup. He had thought it was a simple, standard document. He hadn't read the fine print. His own lawyer, paid for, he realized now, by her, had overlooked it. The coffee shop is mine, Amelia said. It is the one thing I built for myself. It is small, but it is profitable. It is debt-free, and it is mine. It was my real life, my anchor. But, Tiffany sputtered, her brain smoking. The agreement, Amelia said, her voice hardening. It had a time limit. It was a 5-year contract. It expired, or it could be terminated. Gregory's heart pounded. He knew what was coming. It could be terminated by a divorce, Amelia finished. She looked at Gregory, a sad, knowing look in her eyes. The divorce was finalized 6 months and 12 days ago. The day you filed for divorce, Gregory, the day you told me I was static and unambitious, was the day I legally resumed my duties as a full-time board member of Blackwood Consolidated. And 2 months ago, Robert Blackwood boomed, stepping forward, after she restructured our entire European logistics division in 1 quarter, the board unanimously voted her in as CEO, taking my job. He grinned proudly. The coffee shop is her hobby, a place she goes to remember what was, for a time, a simpler life. The pieces were locking into place, and the picture they formed was that of Gregory and Tiffany's total, abject ruin. Tiffany looked at Gregory, her eyes wide with animal panic. But she was holding you back. That's what you said. You're poor, Gregory. Stop saying poor. Gregory snapped, his voice a broken, desperate cry. Mr. Harrison, Mateo intervened. His face was no longer amused. It was cold. Ma'am, holding him back? Let me clarify the situation. He spoke to Tiffany, but his eyes were fixed on Gregory. Gregory here has been an adequate employee for 6 years. We knew. I knew the day he married Ms. Blackwood. Robert, he nodded at the patriarch, watches his investments closely. We were observing Gregory. We were curious to see if he was worthy of the woman who gave up a kingdom for him. Harrison leaned in. For a while, he was. He was a good husband, a decent employee. We protected him. But then he grew ambitious. He grew resentful. He began to see his wife's integrity as a weakness. He didn't realize that her strength was the only thing keeping his job. Harrison's voice dropped to the whisper of a corporate executioner. The moment he filed for divorce, he stopped being family by marriage. He was no longer protected. He was just Gregory, an average analyst with underperforming projections and a shocking amount of new debt. Tiffany's face, already pale, turned chalk white. Debt? What debt? Harrison smiled, a thin, cruel line. Oh, we see everything. The condo you can't afford, the new car leased at 24% interest, the $1,000 donation for these tickets put on a card that is text $4,400 over its limit. And oh, this is my favorite, the Aspen account. You didn't land an account. You just committed wire fraud. I just spoke to the CEO of that ski resort. He has no idea who you are, but he is one of my oldest friends, and he is not happy, and neither am I. It was over. Tiffany's entire carefully constructed fake-it-till-you-make-it world had just been annihilated in 60 seconds. Gregory was simply gone. A shell. He was looking at Amelia, the woman he had, the life he had thrown away, the billions he had tossed aside. He had traded an empire for this. Tiffany, eyes rolling back in panic, did the only thing she could. She fainted, collapsing onto the marble floor in a heap of cheap sequins and broken dreams. No one rushed to help her. Gregory just stared at her. Then, back at Amelia. Amelia, Gregory said, I really loved you. I only wanted a small life for you. You were the one who thought it was small, Amelia said, her voice barely a whisper. I thought it was the richest thing I would ever have. She turned her back. She turned her back on the wife on the floor and the ruined husband. Now, Matteo, she said, her voice clear and bright. All business. You were telling me about the Q4 projections for Singapore. She walked away, a queen by birthright, leaving a trail of destruction she hadn't caused, but had finally brought to light in full color. Epilogue. Extinguished accounts. The fallout was not swift. It was a slow, relentless, and absolute foreclosure on a life built on lies. The gala incident became the stuff of legend. In the quiet, powerful circles of the city, Gregory was a new cautionary tale. He wasn't just a fool. He was the fool. The man who divorced a Blackwood because he thought she was poor. He was the laughingstock. Mr. Harrison didn't fire Gregory the next day. That would have been too quick, too merciful. Instead, Gregory arrived at his office to find he had been relocated. His cubicle was gone. He was now in a small gray desk in the basement, in the archives department. His new job was digital filing. He was scanning old adequate performance reviews from 1980. His salary was cut by 40%, citing departmental restructuring. He now earned barely enough to keep from filing bankruptcy, but nowhere near enough to pay the mountain of debt he and Tiffany had accumulated. Tiffany, meanwhile, did not recover. When Gregory came home from his humiliating new job, she was simply there on the sofa. The condo was being foreclosed. The car had already been repossessed. Her influencer life was over. Her $2,000 followers had heard the real story, and she was a pariah. She had to get a job, a real one. The final crushing hammer blow of karma was delivered one rainy Tuesday. Tiffany, her hair back to its natural brown, no acrylics, wearing a mustard yellow polyester blend uniform, held a notepad. Welcome to the Diagonal Grill, she said. Her voice was dead. "I can take your appetizer order." She was waitressing at the casual, public-facing, non-members-only restaurant attached to the Diagonal Club she had bragged so much about. She wasn't in the club. She was serving B-list burgers to the people waiting for their cars. Gregory, meanwhile, lasted 3 months in the basement. He finally quit when he couldn't bear the quiet, pitying glances of the janitors. He was unemployable. The name Gregory Sterling on a resume in his field was a red flag. He was last seen working as a barista at a generic corporate coffee chain in the suburbs. In a cruel twist, he was earning minimum wage, serving the awful, sugary frappés Tiffany had once demanded. The glass house had shattered, and they were left to pick up the pieces, barefoot and bleeding. And Amelia's life went on. The Page and Bean remained her sanctuary. She had given Maria a massive raise and paid for the rest of her law school. She was there one rainy afternoon a few months later. The gala was a distant memory. She was in her uniform, a simple sweater, jeans. She was reading a book, the smell of coffee and old paper surrounding her. She was at peace. She was content. The bell above the door tinkled. A man walked in, shaking the rain from his coat. He looked to be in his 40s, with kind eyes, a tweed jacket, and a genuinely warm smile. He was a visiting professor at the university, Amelia would find out. He looked around the quiet, warm cafe, and his eyes settled on her. "I'm sorry to bother you," he said. His voice was as warm as the room. "But this place looks perfect. Is this seat taken?" He gestured to the empty armchair opposite her. Amelia looked up from her book. She looked at the empty chair, and then at the kind-faced man. And for the first time in a very, very long time, she smiled. A real, genuine, unguarded smile. "No," said Amelia Blackwood. "It's free." And so Amelia, the woman who had everything but only wanted one real thing, finally found peace. Not in the billions of euros or the CEO title, but in the simple, quiet life she had tried to build all along. Tiffany and Gregory learned the hard way that the appearance of wealth is a hollow, fragile thing. They built their house on a foundation of lies and cheap credit, and a single gust of truth collapsed it all. They learned that what you have will never, ever be as important as who you are. Sign off and CTAs. What did you think of Amelia's story? Do you think Gregory deserved his fate, or was Tiffany the real villain? Let us know your opinion in the comments below. We tell stories like this every week. Stories of karma, revenge, and the truth always coming out. If you enjoyed this, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to see it, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel so you never miss a single story.